This is the caffeinated ramen of which you speak. Moving overseas was not scary to me. The regret that my future self would feel at a missed opportunity, so myself sitting there at 40 years old or 50, wishing I had taken the plunge, that was absolutely terrifying to me. Hi, my name is Robert, and I'm a musician from America, living in Yokohama, Japan. I've been living here for over 4 years now. I moved here in 2019. These videos are going to be dedicated to talking about my experiences living in Japan, specifically as a musician. So I've been in and out of different bands since I was about 16 years old, mostly on vocals and keyboard. However, I started playing the koto, a traditional Japanese stringed instrument, at one point. I just fell in love with the sound, as well as the feelings conveyed by the various traditional koto tunings. I took lessons from a teacher named Yoshiko Carlton in Florida, and would often play at Japanese culture festivals and later at weddings and other events. And these would often be at the Murakami Japanese Museum and Gardens in Florida. But in 2017, I think, I signed up for a week-long traditional Japanese music summer program in Tokyo at a school called Seiha. So it was my first time visiting Japan. I had an incredible experience during my 2 weeks there. I learned that a lot of my playing technique was incorrect, so I needed to unlearn some bad habits and relearn the proper way to play. And I decided I wanted to go deeper into the world of koto. Now, shortly after this, the band I was in at the time played our 100th show and disbanded, so I decided it was the perfect opportunity to go further down the rabbit hole with koto, and I started making arrangements to move overseas to Japan and get my koto degree. Now, this koto degree is a Junshihan. It's a teaching license. So, you may ask, well, what is the point of getting this degree? Couldn't you just study koto in America? And that's a question I will answer later in this video. But for now, let me talk about the process of moving to Japan. There was no student visa to study koto music, and I don't have some doctorate in music where I could see myself getting a government grant to study music abroad for cultural activities. So I looked into getting a work visa. Now, I have a 4-year degree, so I was able to apply to teach English, as you do. And if you would like me to go into any of these steps in more detail in another video, please let me know in the comments, especially if you're interested in moving to Japan and have questions. So I will do a short Q&A at the end of each of these videos and answer as many questions as I can. So I started by applying to different companies. My hair was bright pink at the time, so I had to dye it back to a natural color for the video interviews. And I think many of my friends and acquaintances were actually more upset about that than I was, because they'd only known me with pink hair. But I got work as an independent contractor teaching private English lessons, mostly to adults. So I don't teach in schools, and I never have. That's the whole discussion of ALT work, where you're an assistant language teacher working in schools, as opposed to eikaiwa. And that could be its own video, but I don't have any experience as an ALT, so I can't help you there. But after I did the interviews and got hired to work in Japan, the company helped me through the work visa process. which was a bunch of driving back and forth to the visa office at the Consulate General of Japan in Miami. I saved up extra money working at a call center, and finally I found a place here to live in Yokohama, Japan. I set my move-in date, bought the plane tickets. Of course, I had to get a Japanese cell phone number and then set up a bank account in Japan. And my number one priority when looking for a job was getting one close enough to Tokyo or Yokohama where I needed to be for my Koto studies. So there's a lot of logistics involved, and I'll talk a little more about my specific living situation in answer to one of the questions in the Q&A at the end of this video. So I moved here in January of 2019, and at the same time I was preparing to move, I was also recording a Koto CD of my own songs, which you can find on Spotify, Apple Music, and YouTube. So 2018 was an incredibly hectic year. These were all solo songs for one Koto that I'd written, and I went into the studio and banged out the songs in one day, no metronome. But I thought it was important to have a snapshot of where my musical abilities, skill level, and songwriting sensibilities were at that time and place before I moved to Japan. So I'll pick up this story with my arrival in Japan in part 2 of this video. But before this gets too long, I wanted to get to the Q&A. Though first, earlier I brought up the question, why not just stay in Florida and study Koto there? Well, first, in the traditional Japanese music system, you really need this degree to teach. It's an indicator that you've gone through the system. So let me make an analogy by way of comparison. Anyone who has scattered knowledge about, say, wine, can start a wine YouTube channel. And they may be self-taught, know a great deal about wine, more than many professionals, maybe. However, there are certain international qualifications, like the Court of Master Sommeliers, where there's this expectation attached to the title. There's a standard. You're not off on your own doing your own thing. You are connected to something bigger. And that's something I was looking for. There is a difference, though. I wouldn't say that this degree indicates I'm an expert at Koto, necessarily. So the Iemoto of our school, when she was giving a speech at the graduation, she said, "This is the beginning of your journey as a musician." And another musician friend I was talking with, who is a very experienced shakuhachi player, he described getting the Junshihan as, it's like indicating you're a very enthusiastic beginner. So this is the beginning of my music journey. And spoilers, I was able to get my degree in February of this year. But I will get into that in the next video. On top of that, however, teaching is not my number one passion. So writing songs and performing those songs is what I really love. And I just wanted to go as far down the rabbit hole as I could with Koto. So whatever your passion or area of interest is, there's a community, an established community, and there are micro-communities within that. And it's very possible to stay in your hometown and develop a skill, of course, especially with the internet. It's possible to connect with some of the major players in your field through message boards or online communities. But I wanted the full experience. I wanted to immerse myself in Koto music. And especially, when your interest is so closely tied to a specific place, traditional Japanese music, I wanted to go where the action is. I wanted to go to the source, and it's been one of the most enriching experiences of my life. Now, I don't want to downplay financial hardship and other obligations, so not everyone is in a situation where they can move. Nor should everyone move. I had a rule for myself, and this is just for me personally, but I didn't want to go to Japan unless I had a reason to be here, related to a larger life goal. Though your mileage may vary on that. And I'm sure you've heard this before, but don't move to a different location thinking it will fix your problems. It probably won't. You'll just take your problems with you. So, that said, moving overseas was not scary to me. The regret that my future self would feel at a missed opportunity was scary to me. So myself sitting there at 40 years old or 50, wishing I had taken the plunge, that was absolutely terrifying to me. So let's get to the Q&A. You can ask these in the comments and I'll answer in a future video. You can send a message on the contact form on my music website, RhoneValleyRogues.com, or on any of my social media. If you follow me there, I'll post those in the description. Also, I encourage healthy discussion and debate within the comments about all aspects of living in Japan. I've lived here less than 5 years, so while I do have my bearings, I'm far from being the ultimate source, and maybe someone in the comments is more qualified to answer your question than I am. So, Josh, my good friend from Florida who often hangs out with me on my Twitch live streams, had 2 questions. Josh wrote, I saw that a company had recently released caffeinated ramen. Have you seen or tried it? And what is your go-to quick comfort meal for a bad day? So first, this is the caffeinated ramen of which you speak. I picked one up at 7-Eleven, but I have not tried it yet. I will follow up in a future video and let you know how it tastes. But yes, it says it's gaming. It's a gaming cup noodle. And it has caffeine in it. Niacin. Okay. Anyway. As far as comfort food goes, for Japanese food, I'd say tsukemen, dipping noodles. So ramen is usually too hot temperature-wise for me, and I often find it to be too filling, as much as I love it. I feel bloated after drinking all of the broth, but the broth for dipping noodles is usually more concentrated in flavor, and there's less of it. And I love my chashu with it as well, the sliced pork. Now that's Japanese food, because I figured that's what you were asking about. However, when I'm really having a bad day and I want a taste of home, I get delivery pizza. Pizza Hut here is quite amazing. I'm going to show you some pictures. Now I usually get half and half with a stuffed cheese crust. So my favorite is probably on the left, this charcoal grilled galbi, beef short ribs. It's super fatty and I love it with a bottle of red wine. On the right is the Korean bulgogi. That's also incredible. Now here on the right, this is my secret special pizza. I've taken a bacon cream cheese pizza, because that's the only one you can get cream cheese on that I know of. And I've added Gouda cheese and double bulgogi. And on the left is the now unavailable breaded chicken with Aurora sauce, mayonnaise, and cheese. Okay, here we have on the right what's called the juicy thick slice Iberico. It also comes with pepperoni, and I've added black olives. And finally, the luxury meat sauce with camembert. That's Parmesan, camembert, mozzarella, and Gouda cheese with sliced mushrooms and a special meat sauce. And here I've added some black olives to that as well. All right. One more question. Nevin messaged me on Facebook to ask. Hey, 2 questions. What do you think is a decent-sized place in Japan? And also, what do you think a reasonable price for Osaka would be? Okay. And the answer I gave to him is that it depends on what you're looking for. I live in a share house that's 20 minutes on foot from Yokohama Station, which is a major station. And Yokohama is about 40 minutes from Tokyo by train, depending on where in Tokyo you're going. So it's 77,000 yen a month, which is currently about 515 US dollars. That includes maintenance, utilities, and internet costs. The room size is 9.9 square meters, or about 32.5 square feet. The room is private, but the kitchen, showers, bathroom, and common area are shared. That's considered to be on the pricey side, but I take the convenience of the location into consideration. Also, you're going to want to be looking for a place that doesn't require a bunch of extra fees, like a key fee and gift and stuff like that. So I don't know about Osaka, but many of the larger companies probably have apartments or share houses there. So I would recommend looking up Oak House, Passage Apartment, and so on. Now, as an introvert, living in a share house was very good for me because it forced me to mingle with other people more. Your mileage may vary. I've heard negative stories from people who've lived in share houses, but my experience has been almost entirely positive. If anyone watching this has lived in a share house, please share your experience in the comments. As far as the Japan-US dollar exchange rate goes, when I first moved here, you could pretty much just carry the decimal point 2 places to make the conversion. So 10,000 yen would be about $100, give or take. But now the yen is weaker compared to the dollar, so 10,000 yen is about $67. So if you have a foreign currency saved up and are thinking about making the move, now might be a good time. All right, with that, I'm going to wrap up the video. In my next video, I'm going to cover what it was like getting settled in Japan, getting my degree, and just what my day-to-day life is like in Japan. So please like, subscribe, hit the notification bell, and don't hesitate to ask any questions in the comments. Thank you for watching. I will see you next time.